7+ as our coverage of Event Elect Race Queensland continues. We are on the grid, soaking up a wonderful atmosphere here in Queensland ahead of the second race of the weekend for Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia. So we're just going to kind of wander and see what happens. Already I can see my buddy Josh Buchan over here. You're all kitted up, ready for TCR, but you come to check out some GT3 machines.
No, I'm kitted up for GT3. I'm ready to see someone break a leg before the event, and I'm going to jump in. I'm ready to go. So, yeah, I'm happy to walk around with you and try and sort someone out.
Cool. Elbow somebody. All right, let's wander here and see who we can get. I can see Will Brown over here. Oh yeah, Jada as well. Where's Jaden? Here he is. Here, let's just dive bomb him and have a little work. Sorry to interrupt you. I think you guys are having a nice chit-chat there. Hey, you're front row for this one. Nice to catch up with you. What's the plan of attack?
Yeah, car was quick yesterday, so hopefully we can just get a good start and we got a 10-second pit stop penalty, so just see what we can do in out first stint and then pass over the pole, and hopefully we can still get a strong result.
Have you met hard-hitting journalist Josh Buchan? He's about to ask you a question.
Mate, I heard you got punched in the head shortly before this race. How are you feeling?
Yeah, a bit of a concussion. Luckily we don't have a HIA protocol like the rugby league, because otherwise old Buchan here would have given me a concussion.
Trying to get the ride.
Yeah.
Just tell us about this, in terms of your career and how much you're enjoying this. And I mean, the competitiveness in this class it plays to your strengths, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, I've done a little bit of driving in the AMG GT3 this year, so it's really shown, getting pole and being quick yesterday in the race and being quick in the class all years. With some competitive pro drivers, it's really good.
Okay, so you haven't scored a drive. We're out of here. Thank you. Let's wander. He's completely fine, by the way. Let's dive in. I think Will Brown's over here. Will's dad, Shane, there chatting away. Nice to see you, mate. How are you? I'm not sure if there's can we dive in for a quick chit-chat here? Sorry. Weekend so far for you. I saw I think it was a right front out of the car yesterday. The upright was bent, bit of a tough day.
Yeah, typical by Chaz Mostert, just get it. No, I'm joking. It was all right. It was just one of those things. It was down there, concertina. I actually didn't see everyone spinning. I was sort of placed on the left of Chaz and just didn't see what was going on, and Chaz had to avoid it, and we came together. So disappointing. I was hoping it was just a flat tyre and we could get back out there under safety car, but that wasn't the case. But hopefully today we can have a stronger run. Coming off second here, Brad's been really fast. So, yeah, I've just got to bring it back to the pits in the top three, and he'll go well.
I think that is, we need to sort of highlight, underscore that. Brad's been superb, hasn't he? And there's a real mission from his point of view with this championship.
Yeah, he told me this morning he's got a sore back from carrying me all year. So no, he didn't. But no, he's done a fantastic job. You've seen over the years that Brad's been very fast as an AM, and he's great to have in the car. But yeah, I definitely reckon this afternoon he'll be strong. But see if we can get the Merc off the start and then try and hold the lead.
There you go. Smile says it all. Have a great afternoon. There he is, Will Brown. Let's wander down. I'm getting producer Josh Buchan telling me to move along here. What a great turnout of people. Who have you spied here?
Well, I've found the guru himself, P. Hackett. So a little bit of background. I've worked for Pete for many years in the past. He's a good mate now. Pete, it's great to see you back in the car this year. You're flying as well. How's it feel?
Well, first of all, I feel like you've taken a job I should be doing, it's, one of those things, but I'm glad that you're here. Our car feels great. It's really, really good to be back in GT3, to be perfectly honest. 3 rounds in, getting a bit more comfortable with the car. I've been lucky enough to be picked up by a Malaysian team in GT4, so I'm getting a lot more seat time than I've had for a long time. To be honest, the first round at Phillip Island was a culture shock, man. These things are so fast. The grip levels are so high and the entry speeds are so high. It's taking me, as experienced as I am, like a little bit of time just to recalibrate my brain. So I'm actually really starting to enjoy it now. Yesterday in the race, we all saw what happened. It was chaos out there, it really was. Learn a little bit from the Audi. Stokel's always really quick, and Liam, we know, will come through the pack. Declan's doing a great job for a young bloke, first time in aero cars, so I'm really, really enjoying it.
And I guess Mercedes-Benz and your name go hand in hand. Pete runs Mercedes-Benz events for Australia and Asia. This car has been around for about a decade now. How has it changed throughout its life cycle, obviously from where it was, Evo upgrades and whatnot, because you've been there from the start?
Yeah, well, my first AMG was the SLS back in 2010 or 2011 or something. So the GT didn't replace the SLS. There's some similarities, the chassis is the same. And actually this car runs the 6.3 litre V8 in it, which most people will know from the SLS. The GT4 now runs the bi-turbo V8. But as part of an homologation program to keep the running costs down, because the SRO knew the power figures, they knew the reliability, they knew the fuel efficiency, and they knew the life cycle of this 6.3 litre engine, they managed to talk to SRO and say, hey, when we bring the GT, let's put the engine we know in it to keep the cost down. And you're right, it's at the end of its life cycle. There's a lot of discussions going on at Afalterbach right now, the home of AMG, about what will replace this car. There is a new AMG GT road car which has been released in Europe. There's a few evolutions of it being online, some of the fastest cars we've ever made at AMG. So they'll be here in Australia towards the end of this year and early next year. We don't think that the next of these cars will be based on that road car at this point in time. We might see something completely new from AMG, and it might change the direction of GT racing.
You're the best, Pete. How good is he? There's no one better on the mic than Pedro. Best of luck.
He's a pro. Why don't we just quickly go, I wanted to go down the direction of Ferrari, but I want to come back this way because I noticed that Tom Randall in the studio has picked up on the fact that this car is up on the jack. So why don't we just dive back in with Jaden for one quick second here, because some of the crew were hurriedly bolting away from us. It's just a little double check. Is everything all right here?
Yeah, a quick. You don't normally plan to change a brake rotor on the reconnaissance lap, but
What prompted that?
I just felt something during the lap, a little bit of a flutter from the front. So I was like to the guys, just have a look at the left front here, and sure enough, a big old crack all the way through. So
wow.
yeah, luckily, the cars are built to have the brake disc changed fairly quickly, so we were able to get that done, and it's all good for the race.
Nice spot. Okay, we'll leave you to it. So that's all okay. Why don't we continue down here, because we'll try and grab a word with some of the Arise racing team with Ferrari, who've arrived in this sport and made a huge impression. We certainly saw that at Phillip Island. Had a chat with Adam DeBore in the build-up to this round, because they've got more good things coming. There is a car on display out back. They've got some cool stuff from a team presentation standpoint that they'll debut at the Sydney Motorsport Park round. Here is a likely bunch of suspects here. Firstly, why have you got the glasses on? Are you like incognito?
Trying to be very incognito and just psyching out Jackson here.
Okay,
Yeah.
How do you go with psyching out a bloke like that who's competed internationally and done some amazing things?
It's not been my finest hour, Rusty.
Debrief on the weekend. I thought the bloke to your right there, despite the penalties yesterday, the fight back was mighty, wasn't
Yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, obviously a shame to get the 2 penalties, but then you can only do what you can with what you've been dealt, and we've got 7 seconds of the 10 seconds back, so very, very close to the top step of the podium. Thrilled to get the third step.
Tim Miles, nice to chat with you. Jackson, don't wander away. We actually did want to talk to you. We had a little word to Brendan just there a moment ago. Weekend so far, give us a debrief.
Yeah, look, it's probably been a tougher weekend than what we were hoping for. We felt like we had some good car speed in the private testing, but yeah, sort of lost our way a little bit with setup, I think. So, we're close, not quite close enough. So hopefully the changes we've made overnight will have us towards the pointy end today.
Mate, tell us, you're obviously campaigning a Porsche. You've had a lot to do with Porsche over the years. You do a lot in Asia with the new 992 GT3. You're here in the Ferrari. What are some of the differences? Obviously a totally different car, but explain to the viewers some of the differences between the Ferrari and the Porsche.
Yeah, look, I think the biggest difference, the Porsche being rear engine, you've got this big pendulum behind you. So, it's great traction, but I guess a little bit more understeer, whereas when I get in this Ferrari, we've got a lot of front downforce, so it's quite nice. Can attack certain corners a little bit better. I guess, the high-speed stuff in this Ferrari is lovely to drive, whereas the slow-speed traction and drive off the corners in the Porsches, it's strong suit. So it's just starting to understand and learn what's strong in this car, and maybe not as strong as what I'm used to, but nonetheless, it's awesome to drive.
Awesome to catch up with you. Thanks for chatting with us, and good luck this afternoon.
Cheers, thanks, mate.
Here he is, Jackson Evans. Righto, who else can we wander around and see here? Looks like Brendan Leach, I think, getting ready to jump behind the wheel there. We might have to...
Warm as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even just on the feet here, the track temperature is actually getting really high. The sun's quite exposed on the ground. So I can see actually some of the cars, they've got quite a lot of blanking tape on brake ducts and inlets and stuff like that. I can imagine there's probably going to be a bit of that changing right now. You can see on the Ferrari redoing tyre pressures up until the last minute. So all of that is taken into account before they get going.
I think Simon Poole from Pirelli, who are the control tyre supplier in this class, said to me it's about 30 degrees track temperature right now. We'll monitor that for you during this 1 hour race. So a few things to consider from a strategic standpoint in this one. It might only be 1 hour of competition, but we have compulsory stops and there's a bit to play out, isn't there?
Well, if you look at the 1 hour yesterday, there's really not much more you could have packed into that race. There was everything going on. So I think the starting grid will not look like the finishing order today. So it's going to be an awesome race.
Hope you've enjoyed that little wander around the grid. They're gradually starting to clear things with the decent turn-up of fans here on Sunday as a part of the Shannon Speed Series at Queensland Raceway. We'll grab this opportunity for a quick break and come back with more live from QR. Hope you're enjoying all the action here. Shannon's Speed Series live on 7+. It is Event-Elect Race Queensland, and this season GT racing in Australia has really been re-energised. Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia run in conjunction with SRO, the body internationally that does such a good job with this class of racing, and it means the competitors out there could go and race in Asia next weekend, maybe even in Europe as well. And there's been some fantastic stories in 2024 on the grid here, from young racers to success for different marques, the arrival of Ferrari. We know how good that Merc is. And we've had some wins, of course, for Audi as well. Time to take you to your commentators to consider what might play out in this 1 hour race and some of the class battles that'll be worth following as well. In commentary, Thomas Rand alongside Cameron Vandenuggen, and heading it all up, one Richard Cryle.
Thanks, Rusty. Appreciate that. Looking forward to this. Yesterday's race was the most dramatic Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia race of the season. What can today deliver? I suspect it can deliver a lot, and I'm looking forward to seeing what these two gents can do as well. Welcome back to you, Cam, fresh from 3 hours of GT4 racing this morning. That was a ripping race. Looking forward to this one.
Oh, I'm still excited. The fact I was getting up in the seat over the AM drivers in their class battle towards the end, but we turn our attention to GT3, and Kralsey, the bit that I'm getting worried about, Mr. Whippy over here getting all the scoops. He was on top of that issue with the front row from the outset. Tom Randall, great to have you in commentary, mate, and your insights. The race yesterday was fantastic. With the pros starting, though, it brings another degree of complexity at the back end of the race with the AM drivers having to bring it home.
Yeah, it does, Cameron. Good morning. Still good morning. We're nearly into the afternoon here at Queensland Raceway. Great that not only, I guess we picked it up, but obviously Jaden Ojeda must have felt some sort of issue with the brakes on that outlap. So probably very fortunate that they have that time on the grid that they were actually able to change that front left brake rotor. So if there's a time that you're going to have an issue, that's the time. So they've been able to change that. He's going to be able to warm up the brakes now. So that left front is going to be a bit cooler than the rest of the brakes. So he's got to do a little bit of work to sort of balance and match the temperature across the rotors. But to see all the pro drivers starting, we saw how chaotic the race was yesterday. A lot of carnage, a lot of racing to unpack from yesterday's race. And that sort of just made the championship wide open as well.
The fun way these races play out. So the AM driver starts race 1 and then finishes race 2. So it's almost like a race of two halves over 2 days. It's really interesting, and you get that strategy playing out. Let's have a look at Queensland Raceway. He's doing everything else this weekend, so I think let's let Thomas Randall talk us through the 3.13 Ks of QR.
Thanks, Kralsey. Ipswich, or Queensland Raceway, as we all know it, the paperclip. Looks simple on paper, guys, but it's very challenging, very technical. With the mix of medium to high speed corners in that first sector, we head down to turn 3, the biggest braking zone on the track, approaching speeds around 250, 255 Ks an hour. Heading into the tight turn 4, it's quite a late apex. Really want to get a nice run off there because you're pretty much flat on the exit of 4, all the way through 5 down to turn 6. Turn 6, another big braking, and then we finish the lap. Pretty short lap here. We're seeing lap record pace. So these cars around here are certainly setting some fast lap times.
And we had turn 2, 3, 4 and 6 as the hot zones, but turn 1 yesterday was where all the drama unfolded.
It was, and that's where we had all the carnage, unfortunately. Now, there's an old saying, as you know, boys, you don't win on lap 1. And they actually had an extra driver's briefing this morning just to gather everyone together and just to try and calm everyone down, I think, because there was probably a little bit more broken parts yesterday than all the teams would have wanted. So hopefully today is a little bit less chaotic. One thing we've got to remember, these GT3 cars, here's a replay at the start from yesterday. Now the Grove car got into the back of that 45 Mercedes, which sort of kicked things off, unfortunately. And then there was actually no safety car initially. We thought there might have been, but Stokel did a great job at the start of the race. This is actually, we sort of missed this, but the Grove car actually got into the back of that Audi, and that was where the post-race 30-second penalty came from, and then this is really where things kicked off, Richard.
So, Cam, big crash, yes, but there were some of the moves that went on behind that really sorted the race, and it was Alex Peroni on the restart, scything his way through, and Brendan Leach as well, that ultimately led to them getting that race win.
Yeah, and I'm also going to add into that the Will Brown getting caught up in it, as well as Chaz Mostert. That compromised their race, but you cannot fault the drive from Alex Peroni and the battle and the attack from the Juso Jada. It was such an exciting finish to that race. And I want to give a shout out again to Black Wolf Racing, brand new team. Ben Shoots got the job done with Shane Woodman for that car in their class.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing we've touched on across the 2 days here, with these longer races, whether it be the 3-hour or the 1-hour GD4 and GD3 races, it's so important, guys, that we need to minimise mistakes. It's easy. We saw with the Brendan Leach car 2 5-second penalties, and that cost them a victory yesterday. So really easy to get unstuck here. We've got the pit stop window that's going to open at 25 minutes into the race for the AM class and the trophy class, and then 30 minutes into the race it will open for the Pro-Am, which yesterday caught everyone out because the safety car came out right at that time. So it meant that all the AM and the trophy cars were effectively leading the race.
It was, and they were allowed to pit under the safety car with the MPS, but it was slightly delayed, and there was a little bit of confusion going on into pit lane as to what was going on. So this is the starting grid for race 2 based on the earlier qualifying session. So it was an awesome job by Jaden Ojeda to put the Realtor Tagani car on pole position. Will Brown second, and then Declan Fraser will start the 888 Merc from 3rd place. The big sales pitch from Pete Hackett earlier on. Chazzy Mostert goes out of 4 for Arise Racing with teammate Jackson Evans behind. Brendan Leach out of 6. They've got a little bit of extra pit stop time. So too does the 87 car. The winners yesterday will have the longest pit stop today, plus 15 seconds in pit lane, but they go out of 7th position. AM contenders, well, Ben Shoots qualified on pole, so he gets to start there for this one alongside James Konduras with Ash Samadi next. Ash is actually having a pretty good pacey weekend. Mike Sheargold next will hand over to Garth Walden later in the race, and then from the back, Chris Batsios will start the Harold's Racing car from Valente Rosso with Ross Polakis to finish. Now, Cam, this is race 6 of the championship. We've had 5 different winners so far. We've had 4 different winners in the AM class. This is as wide open as it's going to be.
One car in particular I want to point out, if Rene Gracie can stay anywhere in contention with the leaders, Paul Stokel is just shooting the lights out with his talent at the moment. So I'll hand over to you for the race start, but watch the Gracie Stokel car late in this one.
That's a good shout. Paul was immense yesterday, and the OnlyFans Audi has been repaired for today. So race 6 of an ever-compelling Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia Championship. All the balls are in the air. Let's see where they land in this one. And we're underway, and Will Brown aggressive, squeezing Jaden Ojeda to the inside and then goes to the outside at turn 1. The Ferrari of Mostert around the outside of Declan Fraser, but with a couple of wheels off the ground, and Brendan Leach aggressive as always in that Blacktail ITM Audi, squeezing through and already up 1 spot in front of Jackson Evans. And now the battle in the toe all the way down to turn 3. Ojeda's clear in front. Look at Brendan Leach go. His opening lap has been extraordinary, and he squeezes Will Brown down. He won't get the spot now, but man, this is hugely aggressive from the Kiwi.
Yeah, there was contact definitely there down into turn 3, the hardest braking spot on track. We'll stay with this one at the moment. Ojeda from Brown and Leach. Leach wanting to get through early in this race.
Yeah, Leach up 3 spots on down. Will Brown's gone wide. Looks like he's gone wide into turn 4. Leach has capitalised, so up 4 spots on this opening lap. And we saw on the exit of turn 2, the run down to turn 3, Ojeda just weaving those tyres, trying to get some more front tyre temp. So Will Brown really struggling in this opening lap here in this Sunday race.
It's funny, the Audi's traditionally been a car that gets its tyres switched on pretty well in these races, but Will struggling for whatever reason now, and under pressure from Declan Fraser in the 888 car. What an opening lap from Brendan Leach. This Kiwi is something special. He competed in the Spa 24 hours, so too did Brad Schumacher earlier this year. Didn't have a great race, unfortunately, with Elbamba Motorsport, but he is electrifying, and Jaden Ojeda, his target, and he is catching already the leader.
Now, Chaz Mostert hasn't had the greatest opening lap, has lost 2 spots. As we can see, Evans trying to go around the outside of Declan Fraser. If he hangs tough around here, he will have the inside for turn 4, but Declan manages just to muscle his way to stay in front of Jackson. Mostert just looking for a potential opportunity here as Evans down the inside of, oh, that's so close to contact on, and they're side by side. A little bit of overlap for Chaz, but he does the right thing, and it's the two Ferraris still line astern.
Geez, there's a few hip and shoulders being thrown on the exit of 3 at the moment, early in this race. And look who's to the outside of Chaz Mostert. Here comes Alex Peroni, yesterday's race winner. He's in contention here. You said at the start of the weekend, Crailsey, this was an Audi track. Well, it's Mercedes leading.
Well, this is the 6th GT World Challenge race at this venue since 2022. 5 have been won by Audis as of yesterday. So this is huge. Special shout out just on the back of this kid of Valentino Astudi in the trophy class Aston Martin that was a DNF yesterday. He is clinging on to the back of these guys. So the young Victorian, a graduate out of Formula Ford racing, is doing a super job in the trophy class car. So this is an older specification car, still running the mighty V12. It howls away, and he is doing an awesome job in P8 at the moment.
Yeah, unfortunately, we lost the sister Aston Martin run by Volante Rosso Motorsport after an issue with that left front failure in qualifying yesterday. So a big shame that they've had to withdraw from the event. Also a shame that the number 4 drove Mercedes had to withdraw after that heavy crash yesterday. So big shame to not have those two with us today. But Brendan Leach, I tell you what, he's putting the pressure on. We've just seen, it looks like the tyre temperatures and pressures have come up for Will Brown as well, because he's just done a 108 flat. So it's just taken a little bit longer for that Audi compared to Brendan Leach.
So 7.9 for the Juice, 0.8 the margin. Will Brown down 1 spot, Declan Fraser down 1 spot, but Leach has been the star. Now, talk about mandatory pit stop time. The Pro-Am cars can stop from basically halfway into the race when their window opens. Car 66, which is the Merc that's leading, has 10 seconds extra on their mandatory pit stop time. Car 7, which is the car that's second, has 5 seconds extra because they finished 3rd yesterday. So if Will Brown can run with them, he right now has the shorter pit stop time of the top 3 cars. Could give Brad Schumacher some track position late in the race. But I say all of that knowing what happened yesterday, and it's completely meaningless to talk about that now, because there'll be safety cars and there'll be drama and there'll be all kinds of stuff going on before we even get to that point, I'm sure.
Indeed, and these two at the front, they're just trading fastest laps with each other. Brendan set the fastest first sector on that lap, and Ojeda the fastest middle sector. So they're just trading lap times here. And with the pit window opening at the 30-minute mark, you would say, guys, that these drivers are going to stay out as long as possible, pretty much until that pit window closes to maximise their speeds, given they are the pro drivers. So we'll see how this unfolds. Like you said, Crailsey, Will Brown does not have any extra pit stop time, unfortunately, with that DNF yesterday and no top 3 finish. It actually gives them that advantage today. So with the issues that they had yesterday, it's sort of given them the upper hand today.
Paul Morris, Scott Taylor Motorsport, Porsche 911 GT3R in the trophy class. They won their class yesterday and we're really thrilled with it. They just came out to have a good weekend. He's chasing down Mike Sheargold in the Ram Motorsport GWR Australia Mercedes AMG, one of our AM class contenders. Paul will hand over to Scott Taylor. Scotty did the big road trip up to the Territory this year to run the Carrera Cup round up there with Nash Morris, but had the B triple going. On the back of the B triple were 2 Bathurst-winning 888 supercars. His Group N ex-Gary Rogers Motorsport Tirana A9X and a plane.
And a plane, correct.
Because why not?
It was all documented as well, so looking forward to seeing that come out very soon as well.
Very soon, he tells me. A couple of weeks, I think, we'll look for that on YouTube for Scott Taylor Motorsport. Very cool, passionate about his motorsport. I think loves driving the truck almost as much as driving the racing car.
I think potentially
possibly
likes it more.
Yes.
Correct. No, Scotty Taylor been around for a long time. He's such an avid motorsport nut as well, and the amount that he's contributed to Australian motorsport. I mean, he was the first owner and winner, well, he was the first winner of a Mercedes GT3 race, or a GT3 race worldwide. That was back at the Australian Grand Prix, I think, in 2016. So, yeah, a lot of history there with his Mercedes.
Pick what team he drives for at the back of 12 out.
Can I just say,
got a replay here, by the way, and
Valentino
had a bit of a moment. That would explain why that first sector was a couple of seconds up. It doesn't actually look like he lost any positions.
Can we just keep him in a race seat, please? Just keep him well out of our commentary box going forward. He's too good. 48 minutes, 33 seconds remaining.
I think a bit there is Valentino driving probably beyond where this car is at. It's a trophy class car. It's an older specification car. The Vantage GT3, the V12 edition, was on pole at Bathurst for the 12-hour in 2019 for about 3 hours before Jake Dennis's car for SRO Motorsport was pinged for a little technical infringement based on the BOP systems on that car. But it was a hell of a shootout lap. These cars are spectacular, and that V12 is, well, the current brand new Aston that we're fortunate enough to see in the hands of Valente Rosso, which isn't running in this race, as Tom said, crashed earlier. It's a twin-turbo V8. It's just not quite the same as a V12 that does 7,000 RPM.
No, it's not. And the note, the engine note that they produce is just something spectacular. So, like you touched on before, that pole lap from Jake Dennis at the Bathurst 12-hour was something pretty special. So it's great having the Astons out there, and I'm sure Valente Rosso will get their Aston back ready for the next round.
And a shout out to Ben Porter, who was at the wheel of it yesterday. Ben Porter, exceptional driver, does a lot of racing in Asia. Back in the day, he was, part of the Ian Luff motivation crew that used to be out there at Oran Park, and was at one time, I think, arguably the best Formula V racer just about in the world. Just didn't have the budget to go racing with some of his compatriots or his peers.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see Ben have a crack. Big shout out to his wife, Deanna, as well, who's a big supporter of his. But no, it's a shame that he wasn't able to show the world what he can do in Australia.
This race just coming back to Jaden Ojeda after struggling a little bit early. The gap's come out to 1.7 seconds. Leach still going after him. And Will Brown still just clinging on, but they've dropped Declan Fraser, which will be important when we get to the pit stop sequence if this stays green. Evans still 5th, Mostert 6th. So the Arise Racing cars 8 in front of 1. Alex Peroni 7th and Astudi racing 9th. Ben Schutz still leading the AM class and running 10th outright in front of James Kanduris.
I think that the 888 car will become a factor because they don't have any extra mandatory pit stop time. And Peter Hackett, very, very experienced Mercedes AMG driver, as we heard the sales pitch on the grid walk, so he'll be looking to get back behind the wheel of that. They're about 6.5 seconds off the race lead, and the Ojeda car does have a 10-second extra stop time. The Leach car, that 5 seconds, so you take 10 seconds off the Ojeda car, that gets you to around about P6. The Ferraris don't have any extra pit stop time, so it's going to be interesting to see when Tim Miles gets behind the wheel of that Audi, Schumacher behind the wheel of their Audi as well, and Hackett. So I think it's going to be...
I like Liam Talbot for the back end of this race.
Agreed.
With the Ferrari. I think he'll be one of the strongest of the other drivers, so watch for the #1 car in 6th at the moment.
The other interesting little wild card there is the progress that Elliot Shute has been making in the sister Arise Racing car. So Elliot's coming at it from a completely different trajectory to Liam Talbot. Was quite a late starter in the sport, won a driver surge competition over in the West with Arise Racing to get into a Radical. Jumped into Radicals and was very competitive from the outset. Runner-up in the championship, the young Alex Gardner, who's in that brand new Valente Aston Martin, wasn't this weekend. And he has been getting up to speed very, very quickly with the work of Jackson Evans and that Arise team. So he'll jump into car 8 in the second half of this race as well. Those 2 Ferraris from Arise reasonably well placed at the moment. Looking forward to their back end of the race where with the AM drivers aboard, I think they'll be quite strong.
Yeah, and Crailsey, you can just hear into turn 1 the splitter banging on the ground on the Ojeda Mercedes, and that just, you sometimes forget just how low they run these cars, and the pressures are just, you'd say, pretty much at temperature and pressure now, but that's one of the few cars that you could really hear that into turn 1 as they go over those bumps. It is quite bumpy into turn 1, 5th gear on approach down to 4th gear, so they don't quite reach top gear into turn 1. They will almost get it down the back straight. It is quite a long ratio, a long diff in these cars, but you can probably hear it again. You'll hear it into turn 1. The splitter at the front banging the ground as they break into turn 1. You can have a listen. Just there, yeah. So that makes it a little bit challenging for a driver because what that's doing, it's kind of like a porpoising effect. It just takes away a little bit of that front aero that's coming off that front splitter. So a little bit of more understeer than you want. So, but yeah, the Audis are not too far behind. There's about half a second or 6/10 between the Leach and the Brown Audis. So they're hanging in there. Ojeda just trying to do 2 things here. Hold a gap, but also not use up too much of these tyres because because you're not going to see a tyre change in the pit stop, so he needs to nurse those tyres for Lucchini.
The Ferrari 296, the third iteration of Ferrari's GT3 weapons, the 458 GT3, won Bathurst in 2014. Craig Lowndes, an incredible finish to that race with the screaming V8, and then the 488 GT3, which was successful in both the 12-hour and Australian GT racing. The 296 is a whole different kettle of fish, designed in-house at Ferrari in their GT department, and in recent years they've been expanding their endurance racing in-house program, of course hugely successfully in the FIA World Endurance Championship, winners of the Le Mans 24 Hour the last 2 years, both team cars getting a win each, which is nice of them, and guys like Alessandro Piaguidi driving, who's just an incredible guy to watch racing. But the car's actually built by Orica, who are famous for long-distance sports cars and top-level prototypes, so Ferrari pushed that off to the French company to build these cars. But they are a remarkable bit of kit, and it's cool to see them here in Australia.
And they've been quite successful in the DTM series as well with Emil Frey Racing. So had a few victories this year, a few pole positions with Jack Aitken behind the wheel of that Ferrari over there as well. So beautiful bit of kit, as you said, Crailsey. And one thing to note, the fastest sectors, Sector 1 goes to Brendan Leach, Sector 2, Jaden Ojeda, and Sector 3, Will Brown. So the top three are sharing the sectors at the moment. So it's still very close between those three cars. 11 laps completed, about to be 12 laps, and only 2.2 covering the top three.
I'm really enjoying what will shake out in the AM class battles. When you do the pit stops there, that's going to be almost the way they are spaced out with their additional 15 seconds for Shoots, 10 seconds for Honduras, and Sheargold handing over to Garth Walden with the 5 seconds. If you look at the gaps, they're almost going to come out together. And I like Garth Walden in that battle, I'll be honest with you, when I look at the co-drivers. So I think the 45, which is sitting back in 13th at the moment, 4th in class, probably looking pretty strong for their class win.
Well, Samadi has no extra pit stop time, and they're only about 6 seconds off the AM lead. So
they should come out in the lead. Yeah,
correct.
100%. They'll come out in the lead, but I think then that's on to Garth Walden to chase him down. I don't think Shane Woodman, whilst the Shoots car will come out in a relatively strong contention, I don't think Shane's going to be able to run with a Garth Walden.
That could be awkward as well, because Ash Samadi's racing 2 national level categories this year. The other national level category he's running is First Focus Racing Cup Australia. And do you know what team he's driving for?
Well, let me guess, GWR?
GWR. So, Garth, it could be a case of, do I keep my customer's business or do I pass him? I guarantee you he'll pass him. and Ash will be okay with that, I'm sure. But yeah, it's going to be fascinating to watch as well. Valentino Ostini still leading the trophy class, by the way, so he's still 8th outright, just in front of Rene Gracie, just 3 tenths between them as the 2 Ferraris continue to battle on. So mandatory pit stops coming up. The window opens 25 minutes into the race for the AM cars, so they'll be the first ones to shake out. The pros will go as long into this race as they possibly can. That maximises the pace they've got. So the Pro-Am pit stop window opens at 30 minutes. They're going to want to be in the pit lane as close to 35 minutes into the race as they can without taking the mickey too much in terms of driver time, because that then just minimises the impact for the AM driver later in the race.
Just on the OnlyFans Audi, and I know we're watching the Leach battle up in front with Will Brown, but she's just losing massive time at the moment is Rene Gracie as a result of being stuck behind a Studi.
Looks like the 45 has actually been off at turn 1, so we saw a bit of gravel flying up in the background, so I'm sure we'll get a replay on that. But after these pit stop cycles, guys, I think we'll see Will Brown, that car will probably take over the effective lead, and I think it's going to be pretty tight between Brendan Leach and Fraser. So as we can see, replay, he's had a bit of a tank slapper there. He's actually hung onto it, and that could have been a lot worse.
So the traction control got into it there a little bit and dragged the car back, but Paul Morris be a fairly eye-opening moment there, dodging that at turn 1. Quick old corner that, and bumpy on the entry.
Absolutely. Now, these pro drivers, with the ABS and traction control settings, each car in this field is different in terms of what the settings mean. You know, some cars, the higher the number, the more assist, and other cars, the lower the number, the more assist. So you need to read the manual for whichever car you're driving. So with a Mercedes, I think normally the higher the number, the less assist. The higher the number essentially means how much track grip there is. So
Do they carry that manual in the glove box?
no comment, no comment. So I think while I'm having my ice creams, Cameron, I'll be reading the notes. But these pro guys would be running right now as minimal traction control as possible, and also probably as minimal ABS as well. So you would see when the bronze or the AM drivers jump in, they probably turn up the TC and ABS a little bit. With the pro guys, they want to be able to feel the car more.
Little moment through turn 1 there for Brendan Leach, and that's just drawn Will Brown ever closer in the Shaw and Partners Audi in 3rd place. So when you were in the rain at the 12-hour earlier this year in the Scott Taylor Motorsport car, where were you at with the TC settings?
Well, it was interesting because in the rain and the wet, with the ABS, I was pretty high, because that's one beautiful thing about GT3 cars in the wet is you've got the ABS. With the traction control, kind of like what we just saw with the 45 of Sheer Gold, if you have the traction control too high in the wet and you have a moment, what actually happens is the engine kicks, or the traction control kicks in, and when you go to naturally have a correction, when the traction control kicks in, it kills the engine power, and then you end up darting in the direction that you don't want to go in. So it sounds counterintuitive, Crailsy, but you've actually got to find that balance in the wet, and when the conditions worsen of, okay, where do I want the traction control? Because when it's higher, it actually could prove to do the opposite of what you're hoping.
We're building up to the pit stops. This battle for the lead continues, just 1.8 seconds covering the top 3. Let's go down to pit lane where we find Supercheap Auto TCR star Josh Buchan.
Well, today's obviously a new day, and I'm here with Brad Schumacher. Yesterday, not going to plan, unfortunately, but looking, the dust has settled in the race. You're in a good spot. Will's super fast. Even though you got shuffled a little bit, you should be pretty primed for your stint to jump in and bring it home.
Yeah, obviously we missed out on the penalty because of our result last race, so no additional time in the pits today is nice. And yeah, look, Leachy definitely very brazen at the beginning. That's your typical New Zealander that's good in the cold tyre, you know. So, but Will's super fast now. Obviously he's roping in Leachy, and but I think it'd be hard to pass here at QR. And so yeah, pretty well just hoping that Will can bring it into this position, and then I can just put my head down and drive fast till the end of the race and hope to bank back some more points after our result yesterday.
Yeah, you mentioned that obviously it's hard to follow here in any category, but particularly a downforce car like a GT3 car. Tell us a little bit about what you feel behind the wheel with that, following cars closely, trying to pass.
Yeah, obviously you get a bit of a toe in the straight line, but the problem that you run into then is the aero wash, and you start to cook your front tyres, which obviously creates understeer a lot here. So it's really important to get the car turned at, say, turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, and turn 6. So pretty much every turn. So yeah, can just overheat the front tyre a little bit and make things a little bit difficult. So, but you know, Will's a really accomplished driver. I'm sure he's all over that, and hopefully he's saving me a little bit of tyre for the end.
Well, you talk up Will, but don't sell yourself short either. You're one of the fastest bronze drivers we have here. Plus, you've been doing a bit overseas as well. You're really starting to become a stalwart of GT3 in this sort of region.
Yeah, look, I guess I've been racing in GT3 now for quite a few years, and it's a category I like to race in. It's really special for me to get the opportunity to do some driving overseas, and my name's starting to spread abroad, which is really good. So yeah, just hoping I can capitalise here for Audi Sport Team MPC this weekend and keep the momentum going in the championship.
Awesome, mate. Best of luck.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Great to hear there from Brad Schumacher. And you're right, he's actually in the window here without that pit lane, I guess you'd say, additional time. The bittersweet element of the contact yesterday down at turn 1 and the very short end of his day. That car is well and truly in contention here for a win.
It is, but Will Brown's just chucked away, well, he didn't chuck it away, it wasn't by choice.
Yeah.
Threw away some lap time because he was caught up in lap cars at exactly the wrong point of the racetrack, and they were all dicing among themselves, so he sort of had to thread the eye of the needle through there, and it's cost him quite a lot of lap time. In fact, a second in the first sector alone.
Yeah.
So that was really brutal.
Still in the window, though.
Totally.
He's still got a fair bit up his sleeve. So we'll continue to watch that one. You don't want to give up too much more. Not more than that.
But that's part of the game. Lap traffic giveth, and sometimes it taketh away as well in this kind of racing. So still just the 3.3 seconds covering these top 3 drivers. And that's what you get when you put pros in these cars. They drive the wheels off them, and they're so consistent and so fast. But still only 10 seconds covering the top 5. So it's not light years back to those two Ferraris, who have swapped position, by the way. Chas Mostard's got himself in front of Jackson Evans.
Yeah, that could have been a directive from the team, potentially.
Oh, really? You think?
I mean, it is Ferrari.
Well, I'd like to think the GT team does a better job of strategy than the F1 one. But yeah, interesting, because Jackson did seem to have reasonable pace, but has just dropped a second off the pace of his teammate, Rusty.
You notice little things when you're in the pit lane, Crailsey, and Paul Stokel's just been on the pit wall having a little look just to see what the performance, the behaviour is like for Renee Gracie's car, which you share with her. But you're kind of boxed behind another car at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah, she's got teamed in behind a trophy car, which is obviously has a lot of straight line speed, just the way the formula works, and she's having trouble outbraking him. So it's making our gap a lot bigger for the pit stop, and we need a safety car really badly.
So you've suited up here. Is the perhaps intent, to get in as quickly as possible for you?
Yeah, I'll probably jump in as soon as I can, and then just see if we can peg back a little bit and look, pray for a safety car, and that'll close the gap up. And if we've got the speed we had yesterday, we'd be okay. We'd be going good.
Nice to chat with Paul Stokel. You can see in the background too, Tim Miles starting to get suited up. He shares the car with Brendan Leach.
Yeah, that was what we were talking about earlier. Thanks for grabbing that with Paul Stokel. The gap's been about half a second between Gracie and Astudi. Has not been able to find a way past. There's that car on screen right now. Renee Gracie, she's given up so much time. The gap to lead now for her, 43 odd seconds. That's why Paul Stokel was saying we need a safety car, because put him behind the wheel against the other drivers and the form he is in at the moment, I would say he would be the best of breed. But even the best of breed, has to work back from a 43-second deficit. It's probably a bridge too far.
Yeah, they're going to need some help to get themselves into contention. First few cars in pit lane. So the CPS window is open for the AM and Trophy class cars. James Kanduris in for Superbarn Supermarkets. Mike Sheargold in for GWR and Ram Motorsports. So Garth Walton to take over there. Chris Batsios is in. Ross Polakis, who's been running Praga sports cars in prototype racing in Australia and been going along very well, actually, will take over the Harold's car from P16. And the dude is in as well in that Scott Taylor Motorsport Porsche.
And on that category, the AM class in particular, Ben Schutt's being significantly faster than Shane Woodman. He'll stay right out until the end of the window, then hand over to Shane and see just what they can bring home.
And Samadhi as well has been very consistent in this early stage of the race. In fact, Ash has matched Ben Schutt's best lap in this opening stint, so he's driving extremely well. You can tell a pit stop's brewing too, Cam, because Ben's just set the personal best lap for that car at a 9.2. That is the quintessential sign that you're on an in-lap or very near to a pit stop, is when you get your head down and punch out PBs.
Indeed, and remember guys, 85 seconds pit lane time, total pit lane time. So that's from the pit entry line to the pit exit line. So, I know,
Tom, I was going to say the track's so much quicker. That time from Ben Schutz was a full second faster than what he did in the race yesterday. This track is very quick today.
It's interesting because the track temp is 29 degrees. We're at the peak of UV as well right now. It's 20 past 12 in the afternoon. So the track to be this fast at this point of the day is pretty impressive. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the AM battle plays out, because we haven't seen the top two AM drivers pit yet.
Rusty.
Just down at Tagani Motorsport with James Kanduris. But now, firstly, I think when you and I caught up on Friday, there was a little fuel pump issue or something with your Merc. Has that?
Yeah, no, we're still going with the fuel pump issue. Glad to see it start just then, and that's always very nervous. There's a little bit of surging, but we're getting through it.
What's the bit on you then, and then Theo to kind of manage that? How are you doing?
Just, it is what it is. Just drive the best you can and do the best you can. It is what it is.
Thank you for talking to us, right? We'll stay on this just for 1 second here, because I spotted a little something a moment ago in this team, which is worth noting. I'll get our cameraman to pan over here and just look in the middle there, guys. Bathurst winner, Lukey Yulden, who won it in that year famously with David Reynolds as a part of this operation, helping out down here too.
Yeah, thanks, Rusty. It's a good pair of hands to have helping steer the ship down there at Tagani Autosport, and they'll be hoping that this car in particular has a nice clean pit stop. Despite the penalty time they're going to have to serve, they are in a very good position. And this stint from Jaden Ojeda, 23 laps now, 7.3 best lap time, as their Aston peels off into the lane. Ash Samadhi's already in there. So that will release Renee Gracie, and she'll need to drive this thing reasonably hard for the next couple of laps before putting Paul Stokel into that car to try and undercut the Aston, ideally through the pit stop sequence, and then give Stokel some clear racetrack for the last half of the race.
So Ben Schutz has just pitted as well, and they have the longest pit stop time with an extra 15 seconds. So look out for where they pop out. I would believe that Samadhi will take over the lead in the AM class, and we are about 5 seconds away from the pit window opening, 2 seconds away now, for the Pro-Am class.
Ash had a win in AM in race 2 of the championship at the Phillip Islands earlier this year, so he's had some success. Garth Walden and Mike Shegold leading the AM class coming into the weekend in that Ram Motorsport car. Championship did close up yesterday too with the dramas for Will Brown. Brendan Leach and Tim Miles moved to second outright in the standings, behind Chaz Mostert and Liam Talbot, who continue to lead the way at what is the halfway point of this year's championship. So the pit window now open for the Pro-Am cars too. So Renee Gracie, the first of them in, and Paul Stokel, triple Australian Drivers' Champion in the Formula Holden era, will slide into that car for the second half of this race.
Like he said, he's going to be praying for a safety car once this pit stop cycle, or pit stop cycles are over. So I don't think it'll be too far away, boys, from when we see the leaders pit. The window is only open for 5 minutes, so a couple of laps here. Ojeda, really, there's not much else he could have done. I mean, a 2.3 second gap over Brendan Leach. These are all pro guys. They're all lapping at the same point.
And Ash Samadhi just went past Shane Woodman. So that's a change for the lead in the AM class. The Ash Samadhi Audi now leads the way.
Still 26.5 minutes to go. Can he hang on, Crailsey?
The interesting thing will be Garth Walden, who's just set that car's personal best lap on their first flyer. He's flying and he's 4th in class.
Don't recognise that face, don't we?
Oh, the GOAT.
J-Dub, Jamie Whincup, his home state. Nice and easy just to drive out to the track.
Watching on that 888 car of Declan Fraser, which they are about 9.5 seconds off the lead. So they're still well and truly in this as well. No pit stop or extra pit stop time for that car. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes up once the pit stop cycles are finished.
Yeah, it should be a net second for Declan and Peter Hackett, you'd think, depending on how this stop sequence goes.
Not far away. The CPS window open for Pro-Am, and it's just popped up on our timing charts. I was watching that before. It never came through on our timing charts. Now, Crailsey, I don't always trust my screens, but did Renee Gracie stop before the window opened? It wasn't notified on our timing screens when she stopped.
Yeah, good question. I don't have an answer for you either.
No. It's, Tom Randall, you know everything.
I don't know about that. I did spot that too, so not quite sure.
I was watching it before and I went, I don't know, because we normally get the notification officially through timing. So everyone else is held off. Paul Stokel at the wheel of the OnlyFans entry, just on screen. So with the Pro-Am window open, only for 5 minutes, you mentioned before, get ready for some stops coming up.
And Paul just did the right thing there too by letting the pros go past in Leach and Brown, because their teammates all run out of the same stable at Audi Custom Sport Racing Australia and Melbourne Performance Centre. So the first of the Pro-Am cars to blink is Arise Racing and Chaz Mostert. We just saw the moody shot of Liam Talbot with the Washington sponsorship on his helmet, standing by. So he's going to jump into this car for the second half of the race. So Chaz out and Arise Racing go to work. No penalty time for this team. And this will be a pretty straightforward pit stop. Bleeding some tyre pressure out of the Pirelli P0s on the 4 corners of this twin-turbo Ferrari 296 GT3. So this will be our first benchmark. So they were just over 10 seconds behind this car, and they were 5th when they pitted, and the juice peels off in the pit lane. So the Sydney sider will hand over to Paul Lucitti from the lead, and he's followed in by Brendan Leach and followed in by Will Brown. Now they're all nose to tail, and Will Brown gets in a little advantage there because he attacked the pit lane speed limit sign and probably got a couple of car lengths up behind his teammate at Melbourne Performance Centre. Look, they're absolutely jammed together. Now, the black Audi has 5 seconds longer in pit lane than the white and red one behind it. This car has a 10-second pit stop penalty. Rusty?
Krause, I've just been to Melbourne Performance Centre and had a word to the team there. They are adamant that they stopped that car of Rene Gracie when the window was open.
We're just checking up on that. Thanks, Rusty. Well, they'll be on it. They've got some smart people operating that race team down there, so they'll argue that point.
Yeah. So the reason for the confusion here, as Tom Randall's looking at the screens there at the moment, is that we normally get a notification on our timing charts, and it pops up and says CPS window open. The reason we're asking the question is because it had not popped up on our timing charts when the OnlyFans Audi had pitted.
So front right tyre being changed there on that 66 Mercedes, so that's interesting.
66 of Jaden Ojeda and Paula Chitty.
Now we're looking for Liam Talbot, who's the first of the Pro-Am cars in the Arise Racing Ferrari. Look at them all. Basically nose to tail as they come out, but as predicted, the Shaw and Partners Audi has got track position. So Brad Schumacher has jumped from what was third, and it will be a net lead now in front of Tim Miles. Paul Chitty goes through, Hackett next. So Talbot's got a couple of spots. He's fifth. Elliott Shute in the Ferrari rejoins next. I think Ash Samardi's actually a couple of them up as well.
So Motorsport Australia Race Control notifying us that the 222 of Taylor has got a 15-second time penalty for a pit exit breach.
Glen line.
That's all I can think of.
Yeah, merging into that racing line too soon. Rusty?
Just going to try and dive in here in a moment with Brendan Leach, who's just chatting, and so is Will Brown for that matter. Just a little debrief on their stints. What was the car like for you, man? You went hard at the outset.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I just had a really good start. Knew exactly where I needed to be, and I had a lot of fun with Will there on that first lap, and yeah, we got him in the end. But yeah, once he settled into a rhythm, I had a little bit of understeer, so I was a little bit front limited, but it was good actually. I think for Tim it's going to be a super nice car for him, and he should have a lot of confidence in it. So we're in a good spot. Let's see what we can do.
All right, let's do that. Let's see if we can dive in with Will Brown here, if they don't mind. Boys, sorry to interrupt you. Were you talking with the crew just a minute ago about, was the car not behaving in the rear the way you wanted it to in that stint? Or was hard to tell?
Yeah, we were struggling a fair bit. I nearly looped it a couple of times at one. Just really loose out there. I think we dropped our pressures a little bit and thought we'd come on stronger, but then that allowed Brendan to get past us at the start. He absolutely monstered me. I thought, oh, here he comes, and made a mistake down there. So he did a mega drive. I think he started about sixth, but yeah, we didn't have a time penalty, which is great today, and Brad's got out there in the lead, so hopefully he can just bring it home.
So what sort of car has he got underneath him for this race?
I think it got better as the stint went on because we had low pressures. So yeah, it got a lot better. It felt pretty good towards the end, but at the start it was pretty hairy. So I think he'll be right now.
Thanks, Will.
Cheers, thank you.
Yeah, fairly apt description there from Will Brown, using all of his serious ability to hold on to that car. This is a battle for track position. Schumacher leads Miles by 4.7. This is third, fourth and fifth place, with Peter Hackett chasing Paul Chitty and Liam Talbot in behind them, all three of them being hunted down by Elliott Shute, who's sixth.
Schumacher and Miles leading a race. Bring back memories of Phillip Island.
Yeah.
What a finish.
Reverse, yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, it's an incredible car race. Tim drove the race of his life there. Brad not far behind, I would have thought. And down the inside, here's a look for Talbot on Hackett. It's just a little speculator at that point for car number one. But right now, Hackett and Talbot have got more pace than the 66 Realtor car that Jaden Ojeda has handed over in third position to Paul Chitty, early race leader, but had that extra 10 seconds, and they're 11 seconds off the lead now. So that adds up with that pit stop penalty. Schumacher doing the business right about now, looking to become the first repeat winner of the 2024 season.
Hackett really eyeing off Lucchini here. Wants to try and get him as fast as possible so he's not overheating those front tyres. And something we see in GT3 racing is that what's known as aero wash. So turn 1 and 2 is probably where they get the most aero wash here, which makes it really tricky for turn 3. But if Hackett can just keep the pressure on, try and make a move, and that may even allow Talbot to go through as well. So Talbot's got a lot of speed as well. But the front two guys, Schumacher and Miles, they're just trading lap times at the moment out in front.
Rusty.
With Renee Gracie, I thought we'd check in on that stint for you. It was probably a little bit of a case of managing frustrations, wasn't it?
Yes, definitely. I think I tested myself. I'd say that's why we want to make better drives this year, managing frustrations, and obviously being in a car behind someone's a big learning curve with aero wash. So I'm just happy I finished. We're still out there. There's no damage, there's no issues, and we're on for a good result. So I'm just happy that we're out there at the moment.
Good work. What was the message from the team as you're trying to battle through that and to make those good choices when you're going 10-10?
It was really difficult to listen to their advice and listen to my brain, because my brain wanted to do a lot more than what I probably should have done. But I held back and I just hung on as much as I could. Waited for a mistake, there was none. Just tried to hang on, and I know that I just had to give the car to Paul in the best possible position, which I think I did.
Thanks for that.
Thank you.
Great to hear from Renee Gracie. A lot of work to do, though, for Paul Stokel. He has 53.8 seconds to make up to the leader, Brad Schumacher. So he'll definitely be hoping for that safety car he talked about earlier on in this race, Tom Randall.
Quite achiever. Elliott Shute is actually looking pretty... Oh, we've had it. This is the moment from Mark Rosser, I believe. That was what we sort of called the aftermath of.
Yeah, that's a huge off.
Yeah.
Full pirouette, but able to drive out of the gravel, which is a rarity down there at turn 1.
Lucky to gather it up.
Well, he just let it keep rolling through, didn't he? Didn't haul on the anchors, so with that roll and spin was able to keep moving momentum through the kitty litter, and it meant we've kept this race green with just under 17 minutes remaining.
Back to Elliott Shute. He is only about 1.8 seconds off his fellow Ferrari teammate of Liam Talbot, who's in this little battle pack with Hackett and Lucchini. So I think, oh, you can see him in the back of the shot there, and as they approach some lap traffic. So Elliott Shute's going to get on the back of this as well. He's driving really well out there at the moment.
Oh, God.
Stokel and Rosser, is it? They're caught together. I reckon Stokel was trying to get that pass done. So we'll see what happened there. The 81 of Rosser. We went round before. We saw the replay, and round again at turn 3.
And the leader just goes through Brad Schumacher. So this down at turn 3 this time, and Stokel diving down the inside. It was for position. All right, race car driver, off the fence.
Now, this is what we said. You're a commentator now. Make comment.
I'm going to say that, unfortunately, I don't think Mark Russell saw him coming down the inside. That's how I read that one.
Some situational awareness.
Yeah.
Very similar to what we saw at the end of the GT4 race yesterday, and that was a fair bump play on, wasn't it?
Closed the door a bit earlier there, though, didn't he, Rosser?
True.
So, needed a bit more racing room. Paul Stokel will feel frustrated. He had to get the pass done, though. Lost a fair bit of time as a result, and most likely damage to the car. We heard from Renee Gracie. She handed it over perfectly straight. It wasn't straight at the end of yesterday's race, though.
No, I said actually the damage wasn't that bad to that car, remarkably, after the big contact from yesterday down there at turn 1, but it was sort of a fleeting side swipe more on that car than anything else.
Just in the lead up to this, I've watched that incident time and time again. It's just she got, unfortunately, she was the innocent victim in that. It was a dive bomb from
Peroni.
From Peroni that unsettled the whole lot, and she was on the outside, so it was really unfortunate.
And Lucchini finally gets past Samadi, not for position, but to give himself a little bit of clear racetrack, because he's been bottled up behind the AM class leader for all of his stint so far. So that was important, and Hackett is now going to slice down the inside as well.
So Hackett got past Lucchini. So
I did too, yes, you're right. 2 black Mercedes AMGs, well spotted. So Hackett clear, and that gets him clear air, but he's got 15 seconds to make up to the race lead, almost 10 of them to catch Tim Miles in second place. So that'll be interesting. And we touched on the fact that Elliott Shute was hunting down Liam Talbot. Well, there's no more hunting to be done. He is right behind his teammate.
Shout out to Ash Samadi as well. I'm looking at the gap. Garth Walden, I don't think in 14 minutes is going to be able to overcome that gap.
What is it, 10, 8, 6, Yeah, it's 10 seconds.
Yeah.
It's almost 19 seconds, isn't it? So, yeah, big margin. Ash Samadi looking good. It's got to bring it home. Still 13 minutes to go. Greg Rust.
Caught up with Declan Fraser's parents on the grid, and I thought we'd talk with the driver himself. How's the stint been for you, and what shape is the car in for Peter Hackett for the run to the line?
Yeah, it's actually been a really good stint so far. So we ended up coming out P4 in the end after the start, and they got away at the start. We just struggled a little bit to get the temps up, and then at the end we were one of the quickest on track. So we were sort of keeping the gap and got to him in the pit stop, and now Pete's got us up in a third. So if we can keep chipping away at the leaders, we'll see what we can get when we get to the end of the race.
Some congestion for him when he was leaving the lane. He's in quite a battle pack there, isn't he?
Yeah, it's a pretty good, it's a hefty battle pack actually. It's quite cool to watch. So I was spewing. I didn't get to get involved that much. I had a bit of a boring race. I had a bit of a battle at the start with Ferrari and had to get the elbows out to keep him behind. But yeah, all in all, we're going pretty well. After yesterday, it's shaping up to be a good race now.
Finally, before you go, you were with kind of Jamie Whincup and the crew down here before. What sort of things are you doing once you've finished your driving duties as the race plays out?
Yeah, as the race plays out, I'm sort of helping Simon and Isaac sort of manage Pete, basically, and looking at his braking markers, keeping him cool, calm and collected for the race. And if I see something, it's just an extra set of eyes just to help them out. So they've got so much going on with looking at the car and the strategy and what's going on with amateur drivers with the lapping and stuff like that. So I'm just trying my hardest to help them out and, yeah, see how we go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rusty. Good to see Roland Dane watching on from the background as well. Meanwhile, battle for position going on. Paul Lachiti and Elliot Shute duking it out in the Ferrari and the Mercedes AMG respectively as they run down into turn one. It was Talbot. Correction in car number one. So Talbot gets that position. And that's another net gain for the Arise Racing Ferrari. Now, 15-second time penalty going the way of car 181. That is Mr. P. Stokel, the only fans Audi for that contact we saw with Mark Rosser up at turn 3. So the iron hand of justice upstairs. James Taylor, race director. Craig Baird, driver standards chief, have been very quick in assessing that one.
So you can see what Craig Baird's been making a call of in his decisions in both GT4 and GT3. As we watch this replay, he's saying that, well, yesterday he said George Medicki didn't leave enough room. I would say he said that Paul Stokel wasn't far enough alongside, therefore corner still belonged to Rosser at that point in time. And you can understand why you don't have to give the corner to someone. Paul Stokel had committed, and as a result contact was made, so Motorsport Australia Race Control made their call, and this car here has been penalised.
Ironically, it's not going to help too much because Ross is in pit lane, so I suspect there's some damage for the Team BRM car the South Australian has been driving. Mark's been running GT cars for a couple of years, but also running around in S5000 open wheelers and a B2000 Benetton Formula 1 car once driven by Alex Verts. Carlo Fisichella.
Love the evolution of teams, cars and their ambitions, because when we were at Phillip Island talking to Paul Stokel, I'm just here to work with Renee, help her along. This time we hear from him and he's like, I'm jumping straight in, the car's going to be handed to me. They genuinely believe there is, and I think they're entitled to believe, there's a potential race win coming for them. In the meantime though, let's go down to Josh Bucket.
Here with Chaz Mostert in the number 1 296 Ferrari. Sounds pretty cool, isn't it? Mate, the whole year the Ferrari's been super fast. Everywhere you go, it's been the car to catch, but this round it may not be on the 8 ball like it was.
Yeah, we just got to have a few things this weekend catch us out. So, you know, we tuned the car a lot through practice and made a reasonable balance just to work out that some settings weren't quite where they needed to be. Took the punt in qualifying to try and go back to where we think they should be, but we obviously tuned the car so much where they were. So, been a big misbalance this weekend. Track's quite hot now, and for us, we're kind of sitting on top of the road a little bit too much. So car's really snappy, a little bit hard to drive. So no doubt we'll try to look where we have previously been with the car, and for the next round probably go back.
Plenty of brains around here, obviously, to try and tune that up. But I guess having 2 cars with 2 elite guys like yourself and Jackson, do you go out and try different things to fix that, or are you both in the same boat?
Yeah, we're both always pushing our own little programs and stuff like that, but generally we both kind of like the same thing. So yesterday's race was a disaster for us, getting taken out of that big crash in the safety car. So yeah, it's been not a really good story this weekend to write home about. So, but look, you have these weekends in motorsport, you really know what kind of team you are when you have these and how you pick yourself back up in the next round, and no doubt we'll do that here.
For sure, mate. And yesterday evening, Brownie I saw was taking all your pizza. Did he pay, or is he still a tight, you know what?
I think there's a bit more payback come around his way. So, yeah, watch this space.
Thanks, mate. Legend.
Don't take Chaz Mostyn's pizza. No. That's the message out of this one.
I love that Josh has been the one to be able to get Chazzy to go on record. Arguably the most informed driver in our sport at the moment, one of them anyway. Great season in the Supercars Championship. Enjoying his time at Method Motorsport and also in the Arise Racing Ferrari. So Liam Talbot doing a nice job behind the wheel. Liam is only 3.9 seconds behind Peter Hackett in the battle for 3rd and 4th place. So that's going to be an interesting one just to keep an eye on as this race evolves as well. Liam, who lives in Brisbane with wife Charlie and the 2 kids, Kenzie and Theodora. They're going along nicely, and Liam, one of the best AM drivers going around anywhere in the world at the moment. Pops off overseas to go and race competitively there too. So 4th place for the Ferrari. Audi continues to lead. Andy's 2nd with Tim Miles. The gap 7.4. So Brad Schumacher has been quicker, yes, but not by an enormous margin. It's just eking away from the Dale ITM Audi in 2nd place for what they're dubbing Team South Islands. And then Peter Hackett in 3rd for 888 Race Engineering. It's cool to see Jamie Whincup here, Roland Danes here. Simon Hodge runs that GT program for the former racer and in his own right, Gold Star champion in Formula 3 cars. They're doing a nice job. Then it's Talbot, then Paul Liccitti, 5th place currently. The car he shares with Jada Elliott. Shoot next. Now, you've just picked up, Thomas, that Elliott dropped a big handful of time to both his teammate, whom he was following, and also Paul Liccitti. So something's gone on with the number 8 Arise Racing Ferrari at some point, unsighted by us.
Absolutely. He was right on the back of Talbot not too long ago, and we've just heard that the 81 BRM car of Rosser was in the lane with the suspected engine issue, but it seems like they're back out on track. Now, one thing to keep an eye on that it's just quietly been evolving in the background is that battle for the lead in the AM class between Samadhi and Walden. That's only 0.4 of a second, so we'll try and pick that up, but very close between Walden and Samadhi with about 6.5 minutes to go here in the race.
And here it is, and that could be the moment actually, because Garth Walden just looked up the inside, the green nose of the Mercedes AMG on Ash Samadhi. We'll pick them up as they run down the straight, and they're side by side as they fire on down towards turn 4. So can Garth get that position away? Looking for another AM class victory. Here they are. We picked them up out of 5, and Samadhi holding on. Rusty?
Well, I'm with Garth's co-driver, who's pretty nervous right now, Mike, I would imagine.
Yeah. We're one more spot off the AM class lead, and still 5 minutes to go, but it's pretty hard to pass here, so I'm just watching for hopefully a clean pass and we'll see what happens.
Did I see a little moment for you on a replay earlier in the race? What transpired?
I'd probably call it a medium moment. Just the tyre started to go. I think I took a bit too much into one and got it all crossed up and went for a trip across the gravel and the dirt and managed to get it back on track, so no harm, no foul.
Looks like you got the pass done, I think, by the looks of it going down the back straight, so there you go.
Thanks, Rusty. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Oh, nice being told live on national television that your car's just got the lead. So, Garth Walden, what a move too, between turn 1 and turn 2.
That was opportunistic, wasn't it?
Not wrong.
They said it's hard to pass. Garth Walden said it's not that hard. Just go through in turn 2.
I wonder if there was a little error from Samadhi too. It's rare you get that pass done without, at that point, especially without the car in front having some kind of a momentary lapse, perhaps. So Garth gets the spot, moves them to 8th outright. That team's had an AM class win. They won race 2 at the Bend. They were on the podium yesterday here in AM. They were on the podium in race 1 at the Bend as well. They've had a best finish of this is 7th so far this season.
Schumacher just driving away from Miles at the moment. The gap out over 9.3 seconds with 4.5 minutes remaining. He just has to drive to his numbers, drive to the marks. Doesn't need to do anything silly. And they are on track for a win here in race 2.
Man from Bathurst who can see the mountain from the living room, which is a pretty cool thing to have. And he has burst onto the scene over the last couple of years as a truly world-class GT driver, as we heard his chat early on with Josh Buchan before he jumped aboard this car. He's building some international reputations. He was proud as punch when the Bathurst 12-hour went to a Pro-Am only race in 2022 during COVID, when it was hard to get people in from overseas, that he was driving a factory Audi. He was a factory Audi driver, genuinely, and had the 4 rings across his chest on the race suit. And he was proud as punch that the brand had the faith to put in him to lead that team in a Pro-Am combination. And he's since repeated that this year at the 12-hour. So very proud of what he's achieved. Well known in the Bathurst community in the central west of New South Wales, but very, very good driver. And remember, this combination looking to become the first repeat winners of the season so far, and potentially bounce back in the best possible way from a DNF yesterday.
To underscore that point, Crailsey, in the interview with Rusty before, he was at pains to say, you know, where I sit within the global scene. He holds that very highly, as you can tell, and so he should.
He went to Spa and had an opportunity with Haas RT at Spa this year. Didn't have a particularly good weekend, but still went there. He was a bit under the weather, I think, from memory, when he went over there to the 24 Hours, the world's biggest GT3 race. But again, what a great experience that was for Brad.
And if the results stay like this, guys, the Schumacher car is going to take the lead of the championship with being on 95 points. And if Talbot remains in 4th, 93 points. Wow. So that is a close battle. 2 points between Talbot and Schumacher and Talbot if it stays this way.
The Trico Tech Centre, Thomas Randall, thank you.
He'll be jumping into switch pitches for us in a minute.
Well, actually on that,
I'm sure lots of people in Bathurst Town watching on. They'll have it on the screen at Reckless Brewing, sponsor of Brad. I'm sure they'll be cheering him on. The whole city will be behind him. But Will Brown too, what an awesome stint from him at the start of this race. Such a safe, reliable pair of hands. It's been cool to see Will jumping in different racing cars as well, and driving different cars as well as just the supercar. So just the supercar, he's doing an awesome job in the Supercars Championship this year.
Tom Randall's quoted in the press today saying, don't punch down on our championship.
Oh, no, love it, it's great.
He side-eyed you then too.
Well, I agree. And look, Will Brown, current championship leader in the Supercars Championship. We're all trying to hunt him down, but great combination. And this looks like a bit of a battle here. Stokel's just getting back into another battle. Just wanted to quickly add the Tim Miles, Brendan Leach car. If they stay where they are, they will be on 92 points. So that's 3 points that'll be covering the top 3 cars in the championship.
Right. That's fantastic.
Got a nice little story brewing there. 1 minute to go. Schumacher from Miles, Hackett holding on to 3rd. Talbot hasn't been able to make the dent into Hackett that he probably would have wanted to. 7.2 seconds the gap between them. So right now, with less than a minute and 1 lap remaining, I think our podium's just about set.
This is for position, so Stokel not for position. He's a lap clear of the 2 AMG Mercedes behind, but Ross Polakis is catching Woodman, and that is the fight for 12th and 13th, 4th and 5th in the AM class overall, as Schumacher completes another lap, his 47th of this race. He only completed 29 yesterday, so shows you how much of yesterday's race was run under safety car. This one's gone green the whole way through. The clock's about to tick to 0. They'll have 1 more lap. And the margin, 8.3 seconds. And I'd suggest a little bit of maintenance now of that lead. Just management for Brad Schumacher to Tim Miles, who is going to get another podium. So with Brendan Leach, what the opening lap of this race was just outstanding from that Kiwi. And he hauled that car up 4 spots on the opening lap of the race alone to get them into contention, mitigate that extra pit stop time they had as a result of a podium yesterday. They're going to get another one today.
It's going to be an Audi 1-2 here. Audi, well, technically won the race yesterday on track and then were penalised, but then it was another Audi that took home the spoils. So Audi territory here this weekend, so they've been very strong this weekend.
Audi territory for the last 3 years here at Queensland Raceway. The last time something other than an Audi won was Race 1 2022, which was Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim and Shane Van Gisbergen in a 888 Mercedes AMG for Johor Motor Racing, but Audi's for 2nd and 3rd. And then Race 2 in 22 was Yasser Shahin and Garth Tander and Audi. They won both races last year, and they're well on to winning both this year. Gee, you can drive through it, Cole. How's the dust on the outside of turn 2 And I don't know if that was someone just dropping wheels off or something a little bit more serious.
There was a green flag waving on the other side of it, which suggests there was a yellow flag being shown in that sector. But it doesn't matter, because the leader of this race continues on. 7.7 seconds, so he's rolled out of it just to make sure of this as Schumacher and Krause bring it home.
It's been an emphatic performance from this combination today, bouncing back in the best possible way after disappointment yesterday. And Brad Schumacher has anchored this race to perfection after Will Brown set it all up. And it's taken 6 races, but we finally got a repeat winner in the Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia, and it's Brad Schumacher and Will Brown. Second place will be Tim Miles and Brendan Leach. What a start for Brendan that was to get them right into contention there. And that will be their 3rd podium finish of the season. And Peter Hackett and Declan Fraser across the line 3rd for 888 Racing and Mercedes AMG, and that's their 2nd podium finish of the season so far. Strong drive from Hackett and Declan. Talbot 4th. So solid drive for the Ferrari in the end there. They just didn't quite have the outright speed to compete, did they?
No, they didn't. And Elliott Shute, credit to him, he lost that bit of time, was about 6 seconds behind Lucchini and got within half a second. But also great victory for Garth Walden and the GWR guys and Mike Sheargold in the AM category as well.
Pulled a huge margin back to overhaul Aston Martin to grab that win at the end. Garth Walden, great drive. Confirmation of results. 6th race of this year's Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia. So Pro-Am, first 7 positions. Sheargold and Walden win the AM class, and Darren Curry brought home the Aston Martin that Valentino Astudi drove so superbly at the start. He was running with the outright leaders in the V12. Aston for KMB Motorsport won the trophy class. Kanduris brothers next. Polakis and Batsios got by the Shoots and Woodman car in the final 2 laps of the race. So that was for position in the end. Mark Sini 14th. Not the day for Morris and Taylor that they had yesterday. So let's go and unpick that one for you. A flat-out Fanatec GT World Challenge race here at Queensland Raceway. An aggressive start. Yeah, it was feisty at the start, but watch Brendan Leach pick his way through this leading group. That was awesome stuff.
It was. Up 4 spots in the first lap, kept it clean. Now, we spoke about how strong those Audis were. Ojeda, great start, as we see the contact there between Will Brown and Brendan Leach. This was the moment that the Aston had off at turn 1, managed to gather it up. But yeah, Ojeda, fastest lap of the race. So those Mercs were pretty quick as we see the other Mercedes. I believe that was Sheargold behind the wheel that had that moment. And then Rosser, with that big off at turn 1, managed to keep it out of the wall. Nearly got to the wall though.
Yeah, 16th in the end and the last classified finisher. So after winning yesterday, with a 0-0 for the BRM camp today, and this was a big moment. So Paul Stoker was penalised 15 seconds for that one. Will still finish 7th outright. That was huge.
Didn't catch that one.
See that? No, that was the Woodman car towards the end. And then this, the moment of celebration for Shaw and Partners and for Audi Custom Sport Racing Australia. Audi have won 5 of the last 6 races at Queensland Raceway. They are dominant at this venue. It suits the R8 with the screaming 5.2 litre V10. This has been one of the most successful GT3 cars in the category's history, and it continues to be so. And a celebration for Will Brown and for Brad Schumacher. And among all the celebrations in Fanatec GT World Challenge Victory Lane, here's Greg Rust.
It's a pretty happy Brad Schumacher who's just jumped out of the car. Shannon's Victory Lane, representative of the class winners here. That one must feel pretty good, and you helped set that up in the beginning, Will.
Yeah, it's cool. Brad did an awesome job. I actually lost a spot, but he clawed that back in the pits and we were able to come home in first. But the Shaw and Partners car has been quick all weekend. Unfortunately, what happened yesterday, we didn't get to show that. But it's great to get back out there and get a win today. Obviously, it's pretty tight in the championship up the top between, myself, Chaz and Brendan and the guys. So, yeah, hopefully we can keep these wins coming.
Brad, what does that mean? I mean, just to sort of embellish what Will's saying there, the bounce back from yesterday, knowing how tough this championship is, to be back here again in 2024 in Shannon's Victory Lane, pretty special.
Yeah, honestly, yesterday was just a disaster in the end for us, unfortunately, and completely really out of our control. And yeah, we obviously qualified really well for race 1 and race 2, and you have all the hopes of starting on the front row is going to end up with a good result, and a DNF is really not what we wanted. But today, to get the win and egg back against the Ferraris in these championship points, for sure, it's special for us and special for Audi MPC.
All good oil for the second half of the championship. Well done.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers. Brad Schumacher. We move now to Garth Walden and Mike Sheargold on top in the AM class, and that was a fierce battle. We were literally watching on the pit wall as you grabbed the lead. Well done.
Yeah, thanks, mate. The credit to the team. Our car wasn't the best yesterday, and we're not quite sure why, really. It was good on Thursday and Friday, and then yesterday it was really hard to drive. So a lot of thinking overnight, and we bounced back today. And the Oil Star brake fluid obviously overcome everyone today.
Okay. What was the thinking overnight then that helped kind of get it back on track today?
I don't know. I went over and looked after the kids. You'll have to ask the engineers. They just rocked up this morning and said, "Oh, it's better." So, and it was better. So, yeah, credit to the boys.
Nice to be there to enjoy it with you as the lead happened live. Well done.
Yeah, thanks, Rusty. Cheers.
All right, and we go to this mighty Aston Martin now. Where are the boys? They're over the back here, aren't we? We're talking about Darren Curry and Valentino Astudi. Awesome stuff. Nice to see the Aston taking things out in the trophy class, and a top 10 result as well.
Yeah, great result for the car and the team. Bit unfortunate yesterday, we got punted at turn 6. Val drove amazing in the first stint today, and yeah, good to finish it off like this.
Tell us about that first stint then.
Yeah, it was a lot of pressure. I had a little bit of an excursion which didn't help me at all, but handled the pressure and it was so much fun.
Podium celebrations away. Congratulations, winners of the trophy class. We're going to grab a commercial break here at Queensland Raceway. In the background, you can see the Trans Am cars. That's next. Trico Trans Am here at Event Elect Race Queensland.